Tim Hasselbeck back in studio, doing his job. He's the starter. Should he keep that job and stay in that role?
I think he should for a couple of reasons. One, he's playing good football right now. You mentioned how well their defense is playing. Look, I think we all expected that to happen, but they're getting good quarterback play, so I wouldn't disrupt that. And then there's also evidence of you could build around this guy in the future. Like, there's enough talent there, and it's evident when you watch him. It showed up in the game today. Look, here's a good example. He works to his right. He's trying to throw a hitch to his right, and the Chargers roll coverage that way. So he gets fooled, right? Happens to all quarterbacks. He gets fooled. And so now once that happens, he escapes. Now the athleticism is taking over, and this is what I mean about you can build on this for the future. And then that's a laser. That's a really well-thrown ball. You kind of made a noise in the highlight on this one here to Calvin Austin. They're trying to high-low the will linebacker, but this ball needs to be driven. You have to step on the gas because there's a robber or lurk player that's trying to read the quarterback's eyes.
Zing!
But because he can do that, zing, right there, like, yeah. You like that right there, you see that and you go, all right, this is why he was drafted so high. This is the physical stuff we're talking about in terms of he really could be an elite player in the league.
And the Wilson thing's interesting. He comes in, you make him a captain and all this and that. But then Fields came in via, you brought him in for the possibility that maybe he could end up in this role if needed. And he's been needed. And they're never going to mess with that as long as he's winning. Never going to mess with that. All right, so they've got great defense and solid quarterback play. Minnesota's unbeaten as well. And I'm going to mention the Flores defense again. They are terrifying the people that they go up against. But Sam Darnold, a guy who's bounced around a bit, right? He gets sort of discarded. He can't do it. Well, maybe he can. What's working for him with this Minnesota offense?
Well, I think a few things. In fairness, the context of Darnold. I think when he was drafted, he was under 21 years old.
He's youngest player in the NFL.
Went into a terrible situation in the Jets. Then goes to Carolina. It's not a deal. Not really competing for a job, really, in San Francisco. Well, he gets an opportunity now in Minnesota where he's coached, he's learned, he's matured, and they're doing a really good job of protecting him. So obviously, the defense playing well helps, but protection is also a key element of it too. And it was a big part of why they were able to get chunk plays in the game today. First down play action, right? It's disruptive to pass rushers because they can't just unleash. Look at the pocket. That's 2 hitches in the pocket. Look, we know he can make all the throws. He's a very gifted thrower of the football. Same thing here, 1st and 10. The same exact action, same exact protection, and a clean pocket for him to drive the football down the field. Same exact thing here, 2nd and 7, still a run down. This is 3 hitches at the top of his drop with really nobody around him, and he's able to drive the football down the field. I think we've always known that he's a very talented thrower, talented athlete, all of that stuff. But I think that in a better environment and probably having learned and matured, I think he's found himself in a pretty nice situation.
Well, we had to say goodbye to Earth, Wind, and Fire the 21st night of September. That's in the rear view. Okay, let's put some mile markers in front of us. You got Halloween, then you got Thanksgiving, then you got Christmas time. So things are going to change by the time we reach all those mile markers. You believe that Pittsburgh and Minnesota are teams come Halloween, come Thanksgiving, come Christmas? These are teams that you think have staying power.
Pittsburgh for sure, and Minnesota not as sure, but I think they have a shot.
Well, they're off to fantastic starts, and you can lean on the defense in both of those instances, and that's certainly something. You give up 26 and 30 points. I believe those are the totals. You don't have to make a lot of great plays at quarterback. Saints didn't win this one largely because Saquon Barkley was great. He becomes the 4th player in NFL history with 400 scrimmage yards and 5 touchdowns through his team's through the first 3 games for the franchise, I should say, joining Kareem Hunt, Randy Moss, and Billy Sims. Tim Hasselbeck with us in studio. They also won this game in large part because their defense was fantastic. They really dominate the box score in this one. In terms of fixing something from Monday night, like you heard it, Sirianni say it was tough. If they fixed something here, other than scoring more than the other team, what was it?
Well, I think that understanding that their team is growing. Your team is different than you are a year ago. Think of the changes they've had. Offensive coordinator, defensive coordinator, personnel on their team. You mentioned Saquon, obviously a big part of it. So getting Saquon going, obviously a very big part of something that's different. We had it in the highlight, the tush push. Look, they were a team a year ago where it was like they really just needed 8 yards because they would get the other 2. They obviously don't have the same confidence in that. So your offense operates differently. And so I think that what Nick Sirianni is kind of saying is you got to learn. You got to also learn who you are this season. And I think that when you look at them defensively, they played really well. when you look at how Jalen Hurts is evolving as a passer, I think he's continuing to improve in that, in the new system. So I think this was actually a really important win against a team that, and you said it, was dominating people offensively. Like the Saints were rolling.
91 points. 91 points their first 2 games. They only get 12 in this. And again, only had 6 until that Olave touchdown late. Philadelphia, and again, I wonder about the field goal bit. I mean, whatever.
Right.
He's got his ideas. He's gonna stick to them. But clearly, they're gonna ride this Barkley train, and why not?
Yeah, you should. Like, and that's, I think, part of to try to figure out, okay, well, like, what is the workload? What is the right workload for him? How much can you use him, and how do you use him? But obviously, when you hand him an inside zone that goes 65, that helps.
All right, let's pivot now to Dallas, who loses, and Baltimore, who hangs on. When Baltimore is playing the way it is the first 3 quarters, and the way they did largely the first 3 quarters against the Raiders a week ago, their good is as good as anybody. And you're like, I wasn't really paying attention to that game. It's on, and we're watching it, but it's like that. We're watching San Francisco and the Rams because that game was way more competitive. Yeah. And then you blink, and it's a 3-point game. And I'm thinking, I can't believe this is happening again. They've lost 4 double-digit leads in the fourth quarter in the last 3 seasons, and they're an excellent team. What is that commonality, if there is something?
Yeah, and that's funny. We kind of talked about it last week. Like, what is it? What's the theme in it? And like seeing it happen today, it was like, and because people are talking about it, it can become a thing in your own locker room. But at the same time, I think you also look at it and go, well, those other leads don't have Zay Flowers muffing an onside kick.
Right.
They don't always have a missed tackle by Kyle Hamilton in the open field. They don't always have, a
couple of penalties
that make you wonder, like, that was illegal contact. Wait a second, this was roughing the passer. And so and the reason I show those, not to say like, oh, hey, the officials are bad, but to say, rather than believing the narrative of like, hey, you're the team that blows these leads, you're the team that can't finish, you're the team that can't close, rather than doing that, I actually think that it's a statement by the Ravens to say, no. Even with all of that stuff happening, we're still going to close with Derrick Henry and running Lamar late in the game.
Well, and they had a Zay Flowers first down. They completed a pass to him for a first down, and then they ran that sort of option. Here it is, where.
Well, listen, I mean, it's essentially a version of power read with your quarterback.
Put it to bed.
So, and they did that. And I think that's why when we've talked about them blowing leads in the past, you say, well, they're good defensively. They're usually really good on special teams. And then they run the football. I also think it was encouraging for Ravens fans to see that Derrick Henry created some stuff on his own today. It wasn't just, we're going to hand it to you 27 times. He created some stuff on his own. That was a good sign for them.
We don't have a ton of time for Dallas. Are they good or they stink?
When you hear Micah Parsons afterwards,
that's what I'm saying.
It doesn't really sound like a very unified group.
No.